Rolls-Royce is renowned for the excellence of its products. This excellence in terms of product quality and performance has resulted in significant volume growth over recent years. Also significant supply chain globalisation. And this brings many challenges for logistics. The challenge of bringing our parts to the factory on time, every time, to quality and in the right type of container. This final task parts delivery is the responsibility of Global Physical Logistics, together with their logistical partners. In the same way as our product is renowned for its excellence, we want our supply chains too to be renowned for excellence. Excellence in this term means precision in planning, precision in execution. And we created that vision of perfection in early 2001. We called it the 40-day engine, a catalytic goal, something that we could all rally around. Since that vision was defined, we've massively reduced the lead time in our supply chains. Now, with the exception of a few parts, we're down to 30 days. However, beneath the surface lies a very complex supply chain and still a very fragile supply chain. We do have problems. Those problems incur costs, and potentially it means that we can fail our customers.
There's a lack of visibility in that supply chain. There was early deliveries. We had suppliers that weren't paid on time because of packaging and paperwork errors, process errors at good receiving areas, a lot of expedite inside the company because nobody knew what was going on. We had to start thinking about designing a system that would actually cater for all of those things. We relied an awful lot on the innovative work of the likes of Microlise and TNT, and indeed our own Rolls-Royce people, to try and solve some of the problems that no one had ever had to solve before, because we were breaking new ground.
By the end of 2005, we'll have restructured all of our key supply chains, both in defence and in the civil environment. What this translates into is the need to have precision in planning, but also precision in execution. And that's where Manifest comes in.
One of the first things that Rolls-Royce have actually done is to actually set up an inbound collection service process and an intersite trunker network. TNT operate that on behalf of Rolls-Royce, and they visit a large proportion of our supply base and also all of our intersite facilities around the UK and Germany. First stage of process improvement was to introduce track and trace. So we had the visibility at part number level of what we're collecting, but at that point we had no restrictions on the parts that we were collecting. The largest improvement and the biggest step of the change is to actually introduce an e-manifest process. Rolls-Royce Demand created by an MRP system called SAP. Suppliers view their schedules using a web-based order fulfillment system called Exastar. Suppliers retrieve their schedules through Exastar. They also use Exastar to feed back commitment acceptance data into SAP and acts as a future manifest. And a duplicate copy is also sent to TNT. A central part of the e-manifest solution is to make sure that all of our inbound collection service vehicles and our intersite vehicles are actually equipped with scanners. We've actually utilised a device called a porta-pod, which is basically a big silver briefcase which holds a radio data terminal and a printer, and it also has a tracking device in there so we can monitor that around the UK. Each day the driver will leave the cross-dock or their outbase with the porta-pod, and they will download their route data for the day, and it will confirm exactly what suppliers it's expected to go to at what time. Once the driver arrives at the supplier, so for instance he's arrived at B&D Patterns, he will log onto the porta-pod, confirm that it's arrived, and over the radio data network it will download the day's manifest. So it will tell him exactly what part number and what quantities pick up for each Rolls-Royce site on that given day. The driver will then proceed to scan each individual batch. Most importantly, what the scanner does is it actually validates that against the SAP schedule. The most important thing about manifest is we will not collect any items that are over the manifest. Any parts that don't match the manifest are left at the supplier. Once the driver's finished his collections for the day, he will ask the supplier to confirm that by signing on the handheld terminal. Once he's done that, he will replace the handheld terminal into the porta-pod and print the supplier a receipt. When the driver turns the ignition on, that will send a signal back into TNT Transport Management System and most importantly back into SAP in real time. An MLP controller in Rolls-Royce, they could be in Scotland, they could be in Derby, they could be in Germany. They can sit in front of their terminal and they can see what items have been collected at a supplier. We can now launch parts into manufacturing processes with the certainty that those parts are going to arrive and hit their delivery dates. In addition to the manifest process, there are some other benefits that we've got with the Portapod technology for microlise. It also provides TNT and Rolls-Royce operations teams with additional information for monitoring and managing their operation. Transport Management Centre provides the ability to monitor driver time slot adherence. We can track vehicles all around the UK. We can pinpoint where they are around the UK and also around Europe. We can also use it to notify suppliers if we have problems with vehicle breakdowns or we have delays due to motorway closure. Most of the Rolls-Royce and TNT operations teams have got access to a palm top, so if they're out and about on the road, they can monitor what's going on in the transport network. So if there are any delays, they're actually aware of that at the same time as the operations team. Once all the drivers have completed their collections for the day, they all come back into the outbases or into the cross-dock, where the items will then scanned and offloaded onto the cross-dock. They'll be then reloaded onto the trunk of vehicles for delivery to the various Rolls-Royce receiving areas. So those parts will be now shipped to either Hillington, East Kilbride, Derby, Bristol, Anstey, etc., etc., and also over to Rolls-Royce Deutschland. The delivery process is a mirror image of the collection process. Once the driver arrives at the receiving area, he scans the cage or he scans the pallet and offloads the vehicles. The receiving area storeman will then sign on the handheld terminal again to accept those parts. He'll print a receipt out for the storekeeper, and again, as soon as he turns his ignition on, that then sends a real-time signal back into TNT Transport System and back into Rolls-Royce SAP. An MLP controller can now safely say those parts have arrived on Rolls-Royce site, and it's then down to the receiving areas to book those in, to either put them away, to kit them, or to send them to the build area.
The biggest and most innovative thing that we've done inside eManifest is put full visibility across the supply chain. What we have here with eManifest is a one-stop shop into SAP. It means that somebody using SAP inside Rolls-Royce has full visibility across that supply chain from collection to delivery. We don't have to phone 27 people up anymore to find out where the parts are. We simply know where they are. That's never, to our knowledge, been done before. One of the things we're extremely proud of as a team and a partnership that's at TNT and Rolls-Royce and Microlise is having won at least 2 awards this year for the innovative use of the information technology in the supply chain. First one is International Freight Weekly, and the second one was Motor Transport Supply Chain Awards. We've reduced early inventory by around about £1 million. We've pushed on-time delivery from around 20% to 80% for those suppliers on eManifest. We've moved payment on time from around 90% to 99.99% for eManifest suppliers. Our goods receiving processes are far slicker now. If there are any issues, those parts stay at the supplier, they don't get anywhere near Rolls-Royce. Generally, we have a packaging and paperwork compliance that's 100% now. It would have been around 20% before, and now it's 100%. To date, we've got about 80% of the UK suppliers onto the eManifest system. Those UK suppliers are supplying UK manufacturing sites and German manufacturing sites. The next 12 months are completing the rollout of North America, moving heavily into Europe, and then probably in 2005 looking forward to the rest of the world.
I'm especially proud of what's been achieved by the global physical logistics team. In my 30 years of experience, this is an absolute first. We should consider it as just one step on our journey, not the final step, but it is nevertheless still a significant foundation for satisfying in full the 40-day engine requirements.